Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our latest webinar series, Conflict of Interest in Local Government. So we're presenting this today with Noel Irwin from Melton City Council. So thanks very much, Noel, for being involved and assisting us with this webinar, with your experience using this data. Myself, Troy Nicholson, Chief Operating of Satori, and I'm also joined with my co-panelist, Natalia Levinkova, who's in charge of our customer success team at Satori. So really this webinar has been brought about by just making government aware of the type of data that's available and then potentially could be making use of. There's opportunities for all types of government, but today we're focusing on local government, and we've got only local government attendees today on the webinar. So from all councils from all around Australia and New Zealand. So welcome everyone. And during the webinar, as we're progressing, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. So please just in the chat, just ask a question, and then towards the end of the presentation, we'll be putting it to the floor for questions and answers. And also we'll be running a poll today. There's two polls we're running. So when we get to that point of the webinar, we'll stop and I'll put up some questions for you to answer. So it'd be great if you could be involved in that. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Natalia to start her part of the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy. I will just give you some background on the conflict of interest, how they occur, and what we do to efficiently detect them before I hand over to Noel. So there are quite a few reasons why conflicts of interest can occur, and one of them that's probably the most one of the most common causes. People just simply forget that they're supposed to declare. They read the policy when they join the organization, but then they completely forget what was in the policy and never realize that they have to declare potential conflict of interests. Also, it might be just lack of awareness. People just do not think that certain connections are serious or critical enough for them to declare it to the organization they're working for. They might be a board member of a particular company, but never even think about declaring it. Another one is complex structures of some of the companies and organizations. There might be lots of projects happening at the same time, lots of suppliers involved, and people do not realize that there is a particular conflict across multiple departments, for example. And one of the rare occasions, but it's still, we shouldn't neglect the risk of that happening, is a deliberate non-disclosure of conflict of interest when people work for another company or own another company and they choose not to disclose it to the organization they're working for. I wanted to touch on the power of data and what and how we use to efficiently identify those conflict of interests. So one of the first thing to do is to actually cross-check the internal data sources you have within your organization. So you can have a look at the employees' data versus vendors' data and see if you have any matches on a particular field. So in this way, you can, for example, identify a match between some details of the next of kin of a particular employee and an active vendor of the company. That can be, for example, a match on the address. There is a way to enrich your internal data. You can use the some external data sources, and one of the data sources available at no cost to local government is directors' data across, and it is across Australia and New Zealand. This data can be brought in, and you can use a particular information within this huge data set on all the directors across Australia and New Zealand to do some matches against your employees and vendors. So, for example, you can see if your employees details. I've mentioned directors' details and of a company, and the company also might be an active vendor of your organization. And the third data point is the internal conflict of interest register. So you can use it to further narrow down conflict of interest that you identified to look only at undeclared conflict of interests. And on top of that, you can also use all this data we talked about to actually create your own internal conflict of interest register instead of just relying on people to declare it. Another point here is how important it is to automate these kind of checks or analytics. So by automating these processes, you can bring in the full data set and test it across all your employees, vendors, and other potential data sources to detect all potential conflict of interest instead of just doing sample checks. You're also being, in this sense, you're being proactive by trying to identify potential conflicts as soon as they're happening instead of waiting for some annual audits or some reports. And by automating the whole process, you can ensure consistency in the way how you approach and investigate each conflict of interest. So you're always using the same data points. So you're using the same approach and the same logic on how you detect it. And also your investigation process is always the same and you get a consistent outcome. So as a outcome of that, there won't be a human error. Everything is reported and investigated. So we'll hand over back to Troy for a minute.
So first poll we're running today. So detecting conflict of interest. So how at your organisation do you detect conflict of interest? Is it a manual review, automated solution, or relying on employees to declare? So just I'll give everyone a bit of time to answer the questions. Okay, great. I think you can
maybe give another.
Yeah, people still responding. They're having a think about it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're showing there. Yeah, so about 18% doing a manual review, 12% are doing automated. So that's great to know. And also, but a lot of people, 75%, so 2/3 almost, or more than 2/3 are actually almost 3/4 of the audience are relying on the employees to declare.
Okay, thank you, Troy.
What are your thoughts on that?
I actually expected to have a bigger percentage on manual reviews from, my experience talking to customers and prospects. So that's interesting that, how high the just relying on self-declaration.
Yeah. So I know out of the work we do, a lot of it is declaration. So conflicts are picked up. Hasn't been any fraud or any issues there, but it's just been a declaration issue. So I think once you've actually onboarded an employee, it's very difficult. So when you onboard them, you probably ask them to declare. Then life changes, and they might get involved in a business with someone else on the side, and then. It's not. So it's all about. So it's just interesting. So thanks everyone.
Okay. So I will just share a few more things on how we approach these challenge how to detect conflict of interests. And I would say that our solution that we provide to our customers that is using the internal data sources and directors' data, it addresses the issue in various ways. So first of all, we strongly believe that having some processes in place when you identify all potential conflict of interest and investigate them, it provides you that provides awareness within the company on what you should look out for and how you need to approach potential conflict of interest. So it's not just responsibility of one person within the organization, but people become aware of, like even within the business, within their own teams, they become aware of what needs to be declared. So that helps a lot because that's our ideal situation when people are aware and we can prevent that from happening. Detection, that's what I was talking about before, ongoing monitoring when the data feed from internal and external data sources is automated and it runs continuously. And the last piece here is the actual response where we have each conflict of interest detected triggers a workflow, and it allows each case to go through a proper investigation, and within the system you can record the outcome of each step of the investigation. So you have you have a full audit trail to demonstrate the accountability. So that's pretty much all from me, and I will hand it over to our guest.
Hey, Noel.
G'day, thanks team. So I'm from Melton City Council, which is an urban fringe of Melbourne. It's 35 kilometres west, and we're quite a large council, so 528 square kilometres. We were a shire until 2012, for those who don't know Victoria, and we're a metro council now. So as at the 30th of June 2023, we had 220,000 residents. We're the fastest growing municipality in Australia by percentage. We're growing at about 6.6% per year, and the fourth fastest by residents. So we get around about 13,600 new residents a year, which, just to put it in perspective for everyone out there, is 262 new residents per week. So we're accommodating that level of growth. So as you can understand, with a rapidly growing area, we have a significant capital works budget. So we've got two large projects, which are $200 million each over multiple years. And then our capital works budget for this financial year, not including those, is $225 million of works that we need to get through. That's before the developers dump additional work on us. Our staff, we were 600 a number of years ago. We're now currently 907 and we'll be over 1,000 soon. So as you can understand, with that level of growth, we are going through a complete IT restructure, and we have regular changes in our actual structure. And as you would understand, that leaves significant gaps. The growth pressure presents opportunities for fraud, for, as you heard, all the different missing things, accidentally not declaring conflicts of interest, not understanding the process, etc. And staff turnover and new staff coming in. They don't know the process. They think about it from the last council they were at or the last organisation, or they're coming from outside of local government and they don't actually even understand conflicts of interest. So we have all those employee issues that you saw raised on the previous slide. Historically, we have a number of IBAC investigations. So those IBAC investigations, for those in other states, that's our internal police and local government inspectorate that checks our compliance. And so, yes, we've had a number of exposures, and after one of the major exposures, we engaged Satori. Originally with Satori, we were doing things like invoice before order reporting, duplicate invoices, order splitting, things like that. However, we've progressed and we adopted the director checker a number of years ago. So as was pointed out, in Australia, we can get ATIC data for free as a government agency, and we pass that across to Satori, who then loads it into their director checker system. Now, I didn't enter that poll, but on that poll, we're dependent, like a lot of you, on manual declarations of conflict of interest, which means we can't do an automated check. However, what we've done is we've tied that to our purchase order system. And when we engage and have an active vendor, then Satori picks that up and they match it across to the ATSIC data, meaning that we actually have a check of any organisation that we're engaging, and then we're able to check the directors' names, the addresses, emails, phones, and pick up any conflicts or potential conflicts there. So just as an example of the type of things that it's picked up, we had an employee who was a director of an IT company that built software that's used by councils. We were using that software. That person had recognised the conflict, and they had declared that conflict to our governance department. It wasn't part of a tender, so they declared it to a governance department, and it was held on their files. We hold conflicts of interest either against the sourcing event or held at governance, not on a database. Very poor system, but probably the same approach that's used by most of you. That appeared on Director Checker. So procurement did our investigation, and we alerted, we hadn't found it in any of our tenders. So we alerted governance, who looked into their system, and they found that conflict of interest declared. And the beauty of Director Checker, which hasn't really been stressed by the team here, is the reason why we keep it. So I could do all of that on Power BI. We're a very data-centric council. What I can't do is the next step that we did, which is we record our investigation. We then pass it across to another department who does their part of the investigation. It's all declared. And when it's closed, it's either closed as an incident or it's closed as not an incident, but we have the full record there for the auditors. So if the auditors come through, they pick up that conflict of interest, they want to investigate it, we now have a full auditable trail of what we investigated and how we came up with it. And just to show how effective it is, my boss, the CFO, he left and we have an interim CFO at the moment. I was demonstrating the system for him and he appeared in the listing. And what he had to say to me was, he's actually a director on a board of an organisation that we deal with. And it was picked up immediately within a week of him starting. So it's very effective. Yes, it picks up a whole lot of false positives because you want it to. You want to pick up a whole lot of names that might be similar, numbers that might be similar, and you can quickly record those, investigate them, say that it's not the same person, record that for the auditors and move it on. So we also have an integrity unit here. So with all those exposures and the fact that we've got a history of some major problems, we often, as procurement, will investigate it as far as we can without interviewing the person, and then we can pass this across as a complete investigation with all the information across to our integrity unit, who then pick it up, finalise it, and I don't necessarily know what happens with that, whether they then are investigated further, but the full details are recorded there for the auditors. So if we get an exposure, if we get an IBAC incident, we can go in there, we can find out what's been known and what's been investigated, and it's all recorded there. So for us, it's invaluable. We have manual declaration of conflicts of interest. We don't have that recorded on a database or system. We use the ATSIC data and our procurement data and Satori's capability to then track that data, match that data, and record it and hold it there as an audit for us. So for us, it's a perfect system. I was a procurement consultant in local government, and I was very impressed when I saw this. And even though I can do something that simulates it in the databases that are available, I can't do that recording, investigation, and audit capability, which is obviously critical. So you've got a quick snapshot of, say, some of the information that I see there on the screen. When we drill down, it actually allows me to drill into each of those, record my outcomes, and that's the beauty of the system and why we stay on it. Thanks, team.
Thank you.
Thanks, Noel. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I've got the second poll coming up now, so I'll quickly just launch that. So poll number 2, using ASIC director data. So do you use ASIC director data for conflict of interest monitoring? And if so, you're currently using, not yet, but planning to use, and then not planning to use on this. So please just put your responses in. Okay, so got most people responded. Some people are using it, that's great. So yeah, we've got a portion of currently using, that's great. 8%. A lot of people, half the audience, almost half of are planning to use it, so that's great. So yeah, thanks for sharing. Any comments on that, Natalia?
No, I wonder why. What is the reason why people are not planning to use that? That would be interesting to know.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe could be on the list down the track potentially, but it's good to see that a lot of people are planning to use it, and you are aware of it potentially, so that's great. So thanks Noel, thanks Natalia. So I'm just going to switch it over to the audience on just some questions here. So if you've got any questions, please put them through now. But I've got one here, Natalia. Someone's asking how do they actually get access to the ASIC data?
Yeah, unfortunately, we cannot assist with that because each organization has to register directly with ASIC to get access to the data. And I know that they have a manual download of the data that you can do on a regular basis, but also they developed a more automated approach for that. But I don't really have details of that because we cannot do it on the behalf of our customers. But yeah, you need to register with ASIC to get this access, and as local government entity, you should be able to do that easily.
If anyone's struggling to find that link, just please reach out to one of us and we'll happily provide that to you. Next question is over to Noel. How often do you run these monitoring tests at the council?
Yeah, for us, it's live. So we upload the ATSIC data every month. So we really only have the base data from ATSIC, but we run the daily check of the data. So based on, say, this month's data, if I engage a new vendor, it will immediately throw them up if there's any potential matches. So that table you saw me flick up on the screen, that was the table from yesterday. As you can see, there were potentially, I think, about 12 matches in there or so, or less than that. Okay, it was a good day, but a lot of those are similar. So I think 4 of those are the same. The bottom 4 are the same, and the very bottom one's a bit different. And we'll clean those out depending on the priority. And in fact, just with a quick eye scan, none of those are of concern. So they can stay a few days before we actually action them.
Okay, great. Thanks, Noel. Another question here. Thank you. How do we implement Satori to perform the conflict of interest tests? Maybe
you can.
So it's we have to subscribe to our platform, that our software as a service that handles all this importing of data and the monitoring, and also the case management tool that Noel was talking about, which is a vital part of the solution. So need to be some commercials agreed, and then we need to work with your IT team to get data from. Most councils are on Technology One, but we can get data from any system, SAP, Oracle, you name it. Then also employee master file information, and also the conflict of interest register. So depending if you do have a conflict of interest register that's in electronic format, we curate that data, we create automated import routines, and then unfortunately right now, as Noel mentioned, the ASIC data is not automated, so that's only, I guess, semi-automated part of the process, where at the moment we actually every month have to go and pull the data in manually, but that's only once a month. So as Noel mentioned, there's other tests he's currently performing, such as duplicate invoicing, invoice date that's before PO date, split POs. That's all part of the application as well. So there is actually daily, that's running daily. So some of the tests are running daily and alert you if there's any issues, and others would be run, or the one we're talking about at the moment for conflict of interest is run monthly, and it's
They still run daily, but with the monthly refresh from the ABI, you will get more exceptions. Yeah, once it's refreshed. Yep.
So that's all the questions for today. So thanks very much, everyone, for participating. If you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Natalia, and yeah, we'll make the if you're interested in having the presentation made available, we can offer that to you as well. But we'll eventually be on our website in the next couple of weeks. Okay, thanks everyone. Thanks very much, Noel, for your input.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.